Hey, it's Dennis O'Brien. It's Christmas week. The highlight of my week was not Christmas Day. Today is the highlight of my week because today we have with us the guys who do the show on Thursday night at 4:00.
The weekly show.
How do you get on at 4:00?
Weekly.
By the way, we have to wait till the news is over at 5:05.
Well, when you have Paul on the station, you can get things done.
All right, it's Mark Doyle and
Yes.
Ken Foland, the hosts of Wyndham Weekly, and because their show was scheduled Thursday this week and next week, Christmas, New Year's, they've been preempted by the holidays, and so we felt sorry for them. And Susan said to me, "You know what? You should ask those guys to be on with us on Friday," and she did.
We're spending the days in church, so we're okay.
Oh,
good.
good.
I'm
Okay,
glad
so
you're
you were able to
praying
make
for
it
your
in.
show,
You
yeah.
were able to make it in
I'm praying to
5:05.
survive the show.
Anyway, they've been on.
And that's the last time
They
you hear from
actually
me this
they have actually replaced Jeff Vians and Tom White, and I got to tell you, I think they're doing pretty good. I've listened to the. I'm a regular listener. I've never called in.
Never
yet.
called. Regular listener, first
Don't
time
want to
caller.
give you the satisfaction of calling in,
No.
but we don't do call-ins here because
Well, you're afraid.
we've
We've always
not,
heard that.
No, not afraid. We only have 43 minutes of airtime, and we're not
going
to let somebody call in
And
Here we
Dennis,
go.
and then have to kick them off the
That's
air
right.
because they won't stop.
and Dennis takes 35 minutes of those.
Not me.
No, he does it. He does.
Listen,
he takes
I
all
am
the time.
told.
He takes
I have
the
friends
time.
come up to me in the street
No,
and say,
they
"Dennis."
say my presser. He says,
Say, "Dennis."
tell Dennis to stop talking so much.
Oh, come on! I have people coming up to me on the
He
street
listens to
for
every
years
show.
and saying, "Why do you let her talk so much on the show?"
No, you
But
talk
I-
too much, and then you gotta say New Britain.
New Britain. Yeah,
Hey,
New
this is
Britain.
Ken Fulham, the voice of Wyndham, and before I get the time is up on those 43 minutes, I'd like to wish everyone a continued happy holiday season.
Oh, look at that.
All right,
How
he knows
cool.
how to.
How cool is that?
That's very cool. I
When
love
these people
that.
come up to you on the, when these people come up to you on the street, Dennis, are they giving you quarters as well? Or?
No, they're giving
'Cause
me
you kinda look like a home-
greetings and
Oh, I
salutations.
thought you looked like a homeless guy there.
They're
Handing
saying,
out quarters.
they're
or
saying, "My God,
giving you collectibles.
it's the station was saved by Let's Talk About It,
Oh yeah,
along with
we
Wayne
did it.
Norman and
Yeah,
Rupar.
Oh yeah.
We keep
Yes,
it going. We keep
Rupar.
it going. But you guys have
All
helped.
right,
You
our
guys,
producer Rupar. All right.
Viva Rupar.
Hope you had a great holiday, Rupar.
Right.
Did you?
How about you guys?
Yeah, very good.
Yeah, good. Look, I got a new jacket from my brother-in-law.
Well
Gave me a
done.
new leather jacket.
We
It's
got
a
a
leather
lot of-
jacket. That's
A
what
lot
it
of
is, leather.
local
He
restaurant
got me a
gift
a
certificates.
large, and I said no, it's not going to work. So he this morning he comes up, he replaced it already with an extra large, which is my size.
Wow.
Definitely. He says to me, "You sure you're not a double X?" I said, "Come on."
You sure that's not Naugahyde?
No, that is
Okay.
not. That is pure Corinthian leather, or whatever you want to call it. Anyway, it's great to have you guys on the show. So what do you want to talk about? I want to talk about your show. You've been on for how long now?
This is our year anniversary will be in January.
Okay.
Our platform for the majority of our time in here has always been the Wyndham Public Schools.
Yes.
We're featuring not just staff members, but we feature the kids, what's going on, hopefully alerting the community to the progress of our district, right? Lots to be proud of. I mean, we're sharing every week. Next week, the following week, I should say, we have Natchog Elementary coming on, then it's North Wyndham coming on, and I have an art group from the high school coming on. Not just to come on, they're going to tell you what they've done, because we're hoping this builds to a budget season when we don't have grief, right?
Well,
and
let's
that's
hope
not
so.
the only purpose, but that's
Well,
in
it's
my
important.
mind, it's a big
I think
goal.
it's important. I think it's important. I mean, we were carrying the ball on that issue on Wyndham Public Schools for so long, and you guys came on, and you're really, you're really featuring Wyndham Public Schools.
We took the
And-
inbound pass. Yes, we did.
you took our idea and you ran with it. I mean, we're glad we started it. Well, we did manage to get the new superintendent Iris on, Iris Camaro on. A couple of weeks ago?
Yeah,
Yeah,
about the beginning
We
of
had her on
December.
long before that.
I know you did.
Wow.
You
You
guys-
haven't.
We had her on twice. You're right.
You're an
Yeah.
insider, Doyle. You've been there for what, 40 years?
You're on the board. Thank you
Yep,
for your
yep,
work.
yep, thank you.
Yeah.
I want to say this. I mean, I appeared on your show on 10/30/25. That was my wife's birthday. In fact,
Oh,
we had
you
to do
recall?
it in the afternoon.
Yes.
I came in because I guess it wasn't video recorded, was it? It was. Oh, I haven't
Yeah.
seen it yet. I
Yeah.
got to check it
Yeah.
out. I've heard a few minutes of it. I heard a few. I heard myself speak for like 10
Like an
minutes
echo
out of the
chamber.
first
Wow.
12.
Yeah.
and
Well, it was a great- it was
and
a-
I
yeah,
decided
a
I didn't
great
listen to the
time
rest
to-
of it, but I thought it was pretty good, and I think Mark Doyle's reelection is directly attributable to my appearance on the show just in time.
Your closet
It didn't
endorsement
help
really
Ken
helped.
too much, but
you're-
I tried.
And that's yeah, you did, and I appreciate that, and I
You're-
appreciate the whole.
You
school
got to build up
Democratic
to it
County.
next year.
So-
No,
Yeah.
Listen, I'm
Your
happy.
closet
I'm very
endorsement
happy
was good.
not being on anything right now, but I am always there supporting. And I think Mark is right along with me. We want to make some progress, like you guys,
Yep.
and just move things forward. You can't complain. You can't moan and groan.
Exactly.
Things are happening in this town, and there's no doubt it's happening. You can actually see it, and just like we see it in the school district, right, we're not just saying it's improving. You know, we got the middle school off the turnaround program, right? The attendance
Great.
is right now is through the roof for the
Right.
program that Iris has put through, the superintendent. So you can literally see it, and hopefully it'll slow down the naysayers.
Well, this is totally on the level. You're absolutely right. I mean, things are getting better faster now, and Susan has raising her hand. You're going to be next, honey.
Oh, well, thank you,
and
darling.
okay,
the
you're
holiday
next. But
season.
let me just
Wow.
say that I agree
Detect
with.
the facetious tone.
I agree with Ken. We when we invite people on the show, I always, some people say, well, gee, we actually haven't heard your show. We don't know what it's like. Is it a gotcha show? No, it is not a gotcha show. Our show is all about positive things that are going on in the town of Wyndham, and there's so much of it.
See, there's
So
a
we
difference.
never run out of things
There's
to
a
talk
difference,
about.
Dennis. When people come on our show, they say, "Hey, we heard your show. We're happy to be on there." People really enjoy coming on.
Yeah, but you're
we've
limited
actually heard
to
that
the.
as well.
No,
But-
we,
but
we
I-
also
I-
we also do community members. We've had
You had me on.
you on,
Yep,
and we've had
once.
Oh, you didn't
Bob
invite
from
me.
IGA.
You-
We
you-
did. It was your birthday.
It was
You
your birthday,
wouldn't
but
come.
We'll have you on alone. You might get a couple of words. in.
Right.
A couple
Bill
of-
Sayers
and
had
you
her
did.
on this week.
Yeah,
Yes, we
yeah,
called
were-
in.
And you called in.
That's
called
right,
Both
you
of
did. You
called
guys
in.
both called in.
That's
Yeah.
right.
Yes, you did. We both called in. I just want to say one of the things that I'm very pleased is hearing that you're so supportive of the Wyndham Public Schools is great, and all the work that both of you have done over the years. Now and continuing, Mark Doyle has been on the Board of Ed, and also the work that we do for the before and after school program.
Absolutely. You've been very supportive of that program, Susan. Ever since we started that task force, you've always been there, and you've been very supportive of the program and working with the people.
Thank you so much for that. And one of the things I've stayed on, I've gone and changed around a lot of committees, but one of the things I've stayed on is the Education Committee at the Capitol to make sure that I can oversee, to the best of my ability as one legislator, representing this district, to make sure that districts all over the state like ours are getting the full funding through the Education Cost Sharing Grant. We're finally at full funding this year in 2026, and we were so underfunded over the years, and it took me a while until 2017 to make sure that we were going to get increased all the way through to where we belong. And I'm glad to say that we're there now, and I think that it helps a lot to get that full. We are underfunded to the tune of $10 million a year.
Yes. Yep.
Yeah.
And that
took
is
10
a lot
years
of money.
to
It
get
took
there.
$1 million a year for
Mhm.
them to give us the money.
Yeah.
And now I'm working on special education, and we were able to supply at the beginning of the session this year, we were able to actually bring $500,000 almost back to all the towns according to a new formula for special education. But we still have to have a lot more work done in that area. And we still have the Select Committee on Special Education at the Capitol. I just wondered what your views were on where we should go with special education.
Well, I'm a little bit compromised. As you might have heard from my radio show or our radio show.
Thank you.
Sometimes I forget that he's even there. But anyway, that's another story. But, my wife has worked almost 30 years in our district up at
Yep.
the high school. She was her department head for quite a while and has taken the, step back rate 100% in the classroom again because, as you're getting nearer to retirement. So she I've got a daughter-in-law who's in two daughter-in-laws in special ed, young in their career, out of state. One's in Massachusetts and one's in Rhode Island. So I hear the conversations constantly about what's going on. And of course, the whole federal government with the closing of the Department of Education or shuttering most of it down really impacts special education. So there's a lot going on. There's a lot of kids that have dire needs and to get up to speed to the best of their abilities. So, the funding needs to be there. I think we're still short-staffed. Or
Yes.
we're pretty good at the high school, but we're
it's-
still short-staffed.
It's a hard profession to get. It's not easy working with that group as a teacher. So it is difficult to get staff for things like the special ed and for some of our science and math. Yes, those are shortages.
So it's just one of those situations where, and it gets very emotional. Parents get very passionate, and then some parents, unfortunately, are kind of distant from it. Just take care of the situation at hand. And so the teachers got the handful, but I can only speak from experience of the high school with their administrator, Pam Kavanaugh. I mean, in their new department head, they are on it with the communications to the parents, and that's half the battle. Even home visits. My wife and her team, they go full bore at reaching out to the very last second. I've got, you get the stories. I see the notes from the kids to, again, my only example is my wife amongst her friends who are in that thing. And, the commitment is overwhelming amongst all teachers, I think, in our district. And so it really upsets and bothers me when I see the naysayers say, the teacher never told me, or they weren't involved in this. Why'd you wait till the last minute? And I can go back to COVID, Susan. My wife would be on the computer at 7, 8 o'clock at night, and I said, "Why are you doing classrooms now?" Because at that time I was forced to work at home, and it's because student A really didn't feel up to it during the day, so she would teach them at night, whatever it took. And I think that commitment, and I always share it with Mark as a member of the Board of Education, that's the commitment I think you probably have. Close to 99% at that high school and the middle school and the elementary levels in our district. And I always say it's a gift, it's a craft, and it's a skill to pass that torch of knowledge. And the payoff is when the kid goes, I understand that. And that's education in a nutshell. I got relatives, all my nieces and nephews are in positions of being a school superintendent and so on and so forth. So it's in my blood. It was my background, before my second life. We're supportive, understanding, but you've got a team that is leading. I would put this district amongst many for the effort that's put in.
We have a lot of interesting things that we have to do here. One of the things that is included in the list of things that qualify for special needs students is when you have a home language that isn't English, and making sure our students have the right help with respect to making sure they understand what their tests are. Many students can speak great, they're articulate, they understand what everybody's saying, but then when they look at the language in the test, it really can be confusing because it can mean many things the way that the test is configured. And so it is a problem. It's a problem for multilingual people to be able to test well. And it's something I've talked to people at the University of Connecticut about. I've had 2 task forces at the Capitol to deal with multilingual students. And of course, we have the Compañeros program here. We have a fabulous dual language program, which is one of the best proven ways to have students learn more than one language. And, so I'm working at it there. The special needs listing is one of the things that people have to take a peek at. And I'm not sure, in terms of communication, it would be great for us to have some more chat about what you think we should allow or create for the local level at the Capitol.
Well, obviously you always have your public hearings.
Yes.
And to hear, it's nice to hear from colleagues of yourself and local politicians bringing up what they need and what they want and this and that. But like anything else, I think you're one of those representatives who understand this, is that frontline staff need to take a trip up there.
Yes.
Not when they're angry about something, but when you need to educate your fellow representatives and state
You're right.
senators. That's
Thank you.
Got to get those teachers out front. And I'm gonna,
Thank you for that.
And I will say this also about Susan. Susan, beyond bringing back as much money to our community, which is, that's how everyone gets measured in some way or another. I know from hearing this show, and over the years, her commitment to our community goes above and beyond, and her commitment to education. As she said, she's still on that committee. shows, and it really does show when you look at the infrastructure she's provided. She's there at every turn of the corner to help and support our district, and I thank you for that, because that's as you know, it's one of most things that are in my life. I know it's in Mark's life, but people don't get that out of their representatives all the time, and you are, one of the few that I think really get it, Susan.
Well, I want to thank you so much for your kind words. I really, really appreciate it. It's really makes me feel really good to hear that.
Oh,
And
you put the work in.
what position have you got yourself for the next campaign? You the campaign manager for Susan? Or
You see, this is why
Only
he
those-
I
doesn't sit
thought I
much
was
on
in
the
that
show.
position.
I'm
course,
not
I am getting
interested
old.
in it. I'm here to help and support.
no interest in self-promotion.
You know,
I understand
when,
that, Ken.
when Susan first went to the legislature, we talked about, what committees should you ask to be on, and there was no doubt that education was number one.
Oh, education.
She's been on the
absolutely.
education
Yeah.
committee for 17
I've
years.
been working on
Yep.
it
And
every
it's-
time.
It's so important. We've made connections with all kinds. I mean, not just Susan, because I have connections to the legislature myself. I used to do a lot of advocacy when I was doing legal aid, and I got to know an awful lot of people down there. And we're very friendly with Bobby Sanchez. Bobby is the new mayor of New Britain, and he was House chair of the Education Committee until fairly recently, and he's helped us a lot. He's been to Wyndham with us. We're going to definitely have him come out here and be on the show. And we districts who are in the the lowest, the ERG that needs the
Yep.
most in terms of special needs, in terms of special assistance, in terms of money, we are among the 6 other towns. Hartford, New Britain, the same. It's been the same towns in Uruguay for like 30 years.
Yeah, and let me
right.
just say that those
Oh.
towns have been underfunded for all these years. And one of the things that we want to work with now Mayor Sanchez is we want to talk to him and mayors here, the mayor Tom DeVivo here, Arunan.
Go ahead, say that one.
I can say his first name.
From Hartford.
We've been talking to him recently. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we want to make sure that we have all of them come together. Dennis was organizing mayors from districts like ours back in the day, and we were able to change some of the payment in lieu of taxes structures.
Yep.
I hope that we can do the same thing, because there's going to be a real fight for how we're going to be spending the money after this session when we go into the next cycle. We're going to be looking at how the fiscal guardrails will be applied. And there's going to be a lot of people in very wealthy districts looking for tax breaks, when in fact we need to continue to fully fund special education. We need to continue to increase our support for our education cost sharing grant. We need to make sure that we don't underfund things like special needs students, because what happens is if you do underfund your special needs students, it takes away from the students who actually are average or doing well students, because they give more to that requirement under federal law and state law for special needs students, and it does take away from the students' ability to get the kind of education and the services that they need before and after school.
Yeah, you're right.
Arts.
We're forced to lay off our cut positions that are in the regular ed as opposed to
Right.
the special ed, because of the laws and the needs of those children. But even then, it's the other thing is getting the public to understand what special ed is. I think it's hard for some people to comprehend the breadth of that type of program. There's an awful lot that's covered and an awful lot that has to be covered, as well as our bilingual programs. As a matter of fact, you mentioned Compañeros. I believe we were amongst the first in the state to offer that type of
Oh yeah.
immersion, because I know, again, I was on the board back then, but I know schools from schools from all around Connecticut were coming to visit us to see this program and to try and initiate it in there. And we did presentations at the state for that. Same thing with the Before and After School Task Force. We were brought up to the state to do presentations on that. So we've been working hard and trying to get the respect at the state level.
Yeah, well, that's excellent work. And the thing is that we're a small community, and that's why we have to unite with the larger communities that are similar to ours, so people will really understand what we have to deal with here, and how they can't ignore us. So if you can get more people to come to the Capitol, we can organize a group to talk about how we should be addressing the fiscal guardrails in the next cycle, and make sure that if they do change the funding systems, that we make sure our schools get the funding, because it's all about the future. Our students are about the future.
That's half the battle. I mean, I think if you ask any frontline teacher who focuses on the news, whatever source they get it from, they're realizing that this whole cutting of the federal government on the education department is, they're starting to wake up and say, hey, this could really impact us here,
Sure.
here, and here. Okay, so you now you go to the state government and you're worrying about the fiscal guardrails. Well, we all are. We're all worried about making sure that we stay in the black but not be overtaxed at the same time, but not forget our commitments to the next generation and their needs. And at any moment, the money can just, as we witness with this administration, can just go away, snap of a finger, right? And the governor and the legislator who was involved put that $500 million aside for the SNAP program when the government was shut down.
Yeah.
Well, that's going to happen sooner or later. I have a feeling with public education, because I personally don't trust what's going on out there in D.C. And to make sure that funding is there to keep education at least at where it's at now, at this level. And that's pretty scary. And so, I've always enjoyed Governor Lamont. He's kind of played that middle of the road. And I don't want to get into the politics of things, but I'm sure he and the legislature will act just as quick to help the school districts in need and have to move and wiggle those guardrails around, because things come up, like the SNAP program or whatever else gets frozen. It's insanity to run an operation not knowing what's going on.
Let me just say, yes, the SNAP program was certainly a focus, but also so was health care access, whether it's Medicaid or the Affordable Care Act. We set aside $70 million for the Affordable Care Act, so people would be able to, if they're within 400% of poverty, able to register for that. Anything above 400% of poverty, there'll be some kind of a subsidy, but not anything like there was under the federal government. Just to say a few things about what that $500 million was set aside for, and that is some of it's, he's now come up with a plan with Medicaid, with all different types of programs, mostly healthcare, Medicaid, because as we all know, if we lose the Affordable Care Act, if we lose Medicaid, what will happen to our providers is that they will end up losing staff because they won't be able to pay the bills. And if they can't pay the bills, then we're going to have real difficult time getting access to health care. And it is especially bothersome to me, because what happens is we will lose our hospital because of something called EMTALA, the Emergency Medical Maternity and Treatment Act of 1986, signed into law by President Reagan. And this says that all the emergency rooms must take whoever comes in, whether they can pay or not. And that's because before that law was passed, people would come with a heart attack and be left outside. Women would be having babies on the sidewalk outside because they were not able to pay the bill. And so this is something that EMTALA has changed for the better. But we have to be able to pay the hospitals. And right now, we're being able to pay. But if we don't continue with the Affordable Care Act and the Medicaid program, then we will be in a situation where we will lose our providers. And with that said, I'm very thrilled that we have wonderful guests, Mark Doyle and Ken Folan, and my co-host, Dennis O'Brien, and we will be right back after these messages. Hey, welcome back, everyone. This is Susan Johnson. I'm here with my co-host, Dennis O'Brien, and our very special guest this evening. We have Mark Doyle and Ken Folan, and we are here talking about some of the issues that are going on, and we just finished up a little bit talking about the school systems, but Mark Doyle mentioned something about housing, and I just wanted to say, here in town, we have 3 shelters, homeless shelters. We have a domestic violence shelter, we have a Holy Family shelter, and we have a No Freeze, which is now Project Hope shelter. We have more public housing on a per capita basis than anywhere else in the state of Connecticut except Hartford. We have a lot of affordable housing here as well, and we have a lot of really fabulous housing too. Not that the affordable housing isn't fabulous, but we have lots of different types of housing here. We have mobile homes here. We have an incredible amount of different type of housing for a town like this. And it would be nice if some of the surrounding towns also had some public housing, more public housing, to take up some of the slack and work with the housing authorities so that they would be able to work in other towns and help develop housing, because housing authority operators, especially the larger ones, understand how to do housing development. It's one of the things that we need to do. Right now, the state of Connecticut is about 110,000 units behind in terms of the need for housing units. And one of the things that we did is we just passed legislation that is hopefully going to help us work with communities, work with the councils of government to expand housing by increasing economic development in our regions and the housing opportunity. If we don't expand housing, then our economy is not going to work much longer.
You know, one of the reasons that I wanted to have Mark and Ken on the show is because I want people to listen to their show, because they are carrying the ball
Right.
on education.
Yep.
I mean, we have education guests too, but we are, you know, we do a very varied. We had the conductor of the Hartford Symphony on. We had Joe Courtney on a few weeks ago, but they are really focused on education, and this is the most important issue in Connecticut is public education. Public education needs the kind of support it had when I was going to public schools in New Britain, and I got a great education.
Well, let me just say something about education and housing.
Oh, you're gonna take over
Again?
Okay.
Maybe. I just want to say this.
All
When
right.
you have children that are in a shelter,
Did you
that
want
means
Ken and
that-
I to step out of the room for a while?
that they've lost
Oh,
they've lost their
resist.
housing.
He can't resist.
and they
He's gonna
suffer
chime in.
with post-traumatic stress disorder from the loss of their housing. Their family now has gone through a trauma of losing the housing, and here they are now in a homeless shelter. This is something that other towns don't have to deal with. It's something that they don't have to deal with, trying to help that student with PTSD. And so it's another issue that affects education.
Well, if homelessness develops in a family in another town, they're going to come here because the services are
And
here.
it's going to affect our
Right.
school system here.
That's
Yes.
right. And the other thing I want to ask these guys is because we've heard stories from people about the number of homeless kids that are attending Wyndham Public Schools, and it's pretty high.
Yeah,
It's
we had
really.
superintendent tell us
Right.
more than 100.
Yeah.
Yep.
What do you have to say about that? I mean, in terms of the numbers.
It's one of those hidden expenses that people don't understand.
Yep.
You're right. We have people that they may be living with cousins or aunts or uncles or
Right.
somewhere, but they're still homeless because they don't have, and it causes, as Susan pointed out, it causes a distress for the child,
Sure.
the stress, and I can tell you, my association with our Dollars for Scholars, and I get to read all the hardship notes. A lot of kids are stressed out when the parents split up, or more importantly, something happened economically and they lose the housing. So it's the other thing I don't think that people again it's the cost. So if a Wyndham student becomes homeless, and because their nearest relative or cousin lives in Norwich or lives in Coventry, and the family moves there, it's still our responsibility, if they want, to transfer them back to Wyndham, because the student has the right to stay in their home school district. So now we carry the expense of transporting the student to and from the school. Not through any fault of the student, not through any fault of us. It's the reality. You want to try and maintain some stability for these kids.
It's another reason why we need the funding that we're getting, the increased funding that we're getting, and then some, because of all these difficulties that there's a cost to all this.
It's also. Oh, go ahead, Ken.
I was going to say, I agree with Mark. I mean, I know of multiple children who are living in cars with parents, never mind with their relatives, friends, and 1 week here or 2 days there, and it's a reality. It's a true struggle. I mean, and we again throughout the year, never mind the holiday season, the food is an issue. There's pride. I recently did a pasta dinner for the kids at the soccer team, and that was out of nostalgia. I haven't done one since my kids left the school, and you could see the food insecurity right then and there. Mm-hmm. You literally could see these kids were hungry, and then they left with there was nothing left, and multiple teachers that I know, have been delivering off to the side, feeding kids constantly during the day. All day long, they're asking for food. And I remember when I was on the board, the kid that, they would go out, Mr. Stover, am I correct?
Bill Stover, yeah.
Bill Stover,
Stover,
he'd run around, and these folks were working at the mushroom farm, didn't have anything. And it impacts everything about that child's life.
Yeah.
And some of them, Dennis, like yourself, even like myself, we didn't have it as bad, but we both grew up in families that
Yes.
were not wealthy by any means.
Exactly.
And in all the studies that that I learned about, that's why I love serving, because you learn from everything I've done so far in this town. It's an eye opener and an experience. So people should get involved and really learn about what's going on. It proved the fact that I already knew, but on a study wide, was poverty is no excuse for failure. And I'm talking about the ability to learn, the whole nine yards. It's proven. Test after test, result after result have come in. It's that student's determination. That student could not write his life, his script. But here in Windham, it is so real. I don't know how anyone who lives in this town and doesn't support the school district and every year Mark is going to come out, not just Mark, the Board of Ed is going to come out with a 2, 3, 4% increase request. They need it.
Yes.
And not just for contractual agreements and so on. The expenses involved in the services that are cut. We just recently got back some funding because there was no paper, no ink for the teachers to so it's another expense upon the staff members, some of whom struggle. They're young teachers,
Right.
But these kids in this community can't be just neglected. They can't be let go, and it's not my problem. And it disturbs me as to how many. And what Dr.
She
Demiro
said a little more than 100.
more than 100
Right.
kids. That's a problem that we all face as a society.
More than 100
community.
kids is way
That's
too
crazy.
Right,
That's
yeah.
I
crazy.
know Dennis
It
was
is-
shocked.
it is.
I kept saying there's a lot of kids who are homeless here.
much. Yeah.
I remember getting calls from people who were losing their temporary assistance for needy families money, and that was one of the things I've been able to make some modifications to make sure that people that find themselves in a jam have more money from the temporary assistance for needy family, TANF, and also that they have a longer period of time. One thing
Yeah.
that happened during COVID is we saw a lot of the limitations that we put on the women and children, which, by the way, we had the second worst program in the entire country, just so you know, 21 months and you're off for life, and 44% of the federal poverty level. And so now we have increased it. We're almost at the federal poverty level, and now they can stay on for 36 months. But if something happens, if a death, if an injury, if something happens, and you need to have that benefit for a time, under the Clinton administration, of course, he got rid of something called the Aid to Families with Dependent Children, which you could have until you actually got on your feet and were working. You could keep your house, you could have food, you could take care of the kids. All those things were okay. They're all gone now. They went away in the 1990s, and Roland made it even worse. So Clinton started it, and Roland made a horrible, a very bad policy worse. And so that's why we have so many homeless women and children now, is because we do not provide the support that they might need when they go through some type of difficulty with injuries, illness, accidents, and death.
Yeah, Ken, you talked a little bit about poverty way back when, and now it's much more difficult to be in poverty now. Everything's so much more expensive. We were when I'm so old that we were still benefiting from the post-war boom. I mean, the American economy went boom right after World War II because we were the only country in the world where the war wasn't fought. Every other economy in the world was destroyed. We had markets for our products all over the world. We don't have that anymore, and it's I don't know how the poor can get by. I worked in legal aid for 23 years. As Susan said, we had the AFDC program, which was a really good program. I saw mothers that were on AFDC later on become business people, teachers, even lawyers and doctors, because AFDC kept you on until you didn't need it anymore. But when they went to the TANF program, that's a really limited program. So poverty is a really big problem. And poverty doesn't, you might have kids that are in situations that are really poor, where they're homeless, and they could have behavior problems caused by their situations. But they bring it to school with them, and that's expensive too. It wastes time, and that could be spent on education. There are all kinds of effects of poverty that could influence the school system, and we have it here. I don't know how Hartford does it. I can't imagine, because Hartford is really, they have they're the capital city, and they do have resources there that we don't have. But wow, the poverty level there is incredibly high, and I just think historically it's incredible that Mark Twain moved to Hartford because he thought it was the most beautiful city in America. And look what we've done to it by having this situation that we have in Connecticut, where we restrict poverty to just a few places, and most of the state is doing quite well. We need to be more aware of, and I think we're getting there, but we need to work harder at it. People outside of the poverty towns, we need to be more aware of the needs in the cities and how it's affecting everybody.
Yeah, without a doubt. I mean, Wyndham is special in many ways, and I look at it as a small company, if you will.
Yeah.
I mean, it is a tiny, small government made up of people who know each other. For the most part, I think, love the town that they're trying to help.
Sure.
School district's just the same. And I say to Susan and whoever else takes her role down the road and advocates for this community, it's really important to raise your hand and be a pilot program, because this is one of those towns where the size is just right to test anything.
Yeah.
And you can flip a switch. Oh, geez, this is a disaster. This isn't working, and shut it down.
Yeah.
Or fully fund it, because it's what we need to get these kids. And that message, I think, Susan could take to Hartford as well, because it is one of those things where this is not a Hartford where to institute it is like the dinosaur or the Titanic. You make a decision to go left or right. I mean, this should be a nimble government and a nimble school district where, hey, let's try this, and what works, and you fund it. If it's not working, shut it off and try something different. Because 100 kids plus should not be out of a home and going to school and trying to build a future for me, to take care of me when I'm old. I'll be greedy.
Exactly.
Take care of me. I want you guys to succeed. So, whatever money's coming to me is there.
That's right. Well, I just wanted to say that that's a spot-on argument, because one of the things we've noticed over the years, and I heard before I got to the Capitol and after I got to the Capitol, is that, the town of Wyndham, they got more money, and now the kids are doing better. We have more teachers, and we have more access to resources. And then all of a sudden, you're doing better now. You don't need that extra money. And then, they take it away. And then they take it away.
Actually happening.
And that has happened more than once here.
Right.
And it's something that we need to take a look at. We cannot and that was before we changed and made sure we were trying to be in compliance with the education cost sharing grant. So that is something that we can't let go. We can't let anybody say, "Hey, the fiscal guardrails are going to stop you from." No, that we've got to be prioritizing that, making sure that the municipalities and the boards of education in each municipality get that money and the fiscal guardrails. Let me just say, they have a lot of confusion over spending cap and how that works, and this is a topic for another show perhaps. But back in the day when Weicker first did get that into the Constitution for the spending cap, they did not have any requirement to pay any debt. So during that whole time that Rowland and Rel were governor, they didn't pay the debt. Now, of course, it hadn't been paid before either, but they had made agreements to pay the debt. And so by the time Malloy got in there, there was no rainy day fund. There was huge debt, big interest rates. And I can't imagine, why did we do that? Was it because they wanted to help the banks? I don't know. Just saying. Anyway.
Well, because it's not politically, it's pension debt is what it is.
Well,
right?
yeah, but you still
and they
pay
don't want
interest.
to pay it. Nobody wants to pay for that.
Pay interest. You're going to pay more interest than you're going to pay in
pensions.
pensions.
I know. You got to pay it.
So it's going to the banks.
I understand.
Well, it's no different than what's going on in today's federal administration, right?
Okay, good point. Good point.
He literally he whacked out this economy with the tariffs, right?
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
On one hand, he's done that, and now the tease is to give, if you're under a certain income level to get some money back, cut 1,000, whatever, 2,000,
Yeah,
whatever it is
whatever.
this week.
We'll see.
If he's such a fiscal conservative, why isn't he taking, if that money is that readily available, pay down the government debt at this point, set aside X. If you're going to have X, then set aside X amount to go to the states for the education that these children need and the programs that family needs for this day until this economy gets going again. I don't know when that's going to be. So that we're in my business, I know why certain foods cost more or less on a
Right.
weekly basis. It's part of my life. And to turn around and take credit for the price of eggs dropping, the guys, I don't know who he thinks he's fooling, but it's not me.
Well, let me just say that about
He's
the eggs. It
fooling
was
some, but
crazy that
it's
they
not
would
fooling enough to
include
stay.
the price of eggs when it was all about the bird flu. Thank you,
Thank you.
please.
Yeah.
And let's just be clear. That was insane for the media to go on
Yeah.
all through the Biden administration. Price of eggs, price of eggs, price of eggs. And they didn't say a word about bird flu, bird flu, bird flu.
Well,
It was like cuckoo.
There's
No
there's
pun intended.
There's a
Oh,
formal
God.
word. There's a formal
right.
term for what is called swollen head disease. And I'm not talking about Dennis. I am talking. I am talking about with chickens, and that was part of the problem there. And I look at the price of grinds, such as hamburger, the beef. Okay, there's a shortage in the market right now of supply, so no one's cutting steaks. When you don't cut steaks for the restaurants, there's no grind, there's no fat and whatever left over to make hamburger, and that's why, granted, Stop and Shop may have a $15.99 a pound this week, but it's up to $5.79, something that used to be $1 and change. That's why I don't know how people are even making it. Some of these people. In
I
this
don't know how
community.
they do it.
I don't know how they're doing it.
I don't know how they do
No,
it.
it's scary. It's
And-
scary
and
because
it is
can
very scary.
keep creeping up. I mean, it's just now it's maybe hitting the lower income, but it's not going to just stop there
No.
unless we figure out a way around it. And I have to just say, I just bought that book, 1929, and the policies that are being administered now by this federal administration are the same ones under Calvin Coolidge and Herbert Hoover, and that is what led. They had the tariffs, and they have the way that the stock market's configured. And I'll let you all take a peek at the book. But 1929, it just came out. I just bought it. It's fabulous. And
It's worth a read.
It
Okay,
is, sir.
I do want to mention that, and
we're getting down to the end. You gotta
just quickly mention that.
Okay, good.
We're talking about the poverty, and we're talking about the need for the monies.
Yep.
I do want to mention that one of the things that Ken and I try and do on our show, and is actually happening, is there is improvements being made in the school system.
That's what
We've
Susan
concentrated
mentioned, yeah.
great deal on the attendance. We're up to almost 98%.
That's great.
Because if
That's
they're not in school,
fabulous.
you can't teach
Got to
them.
show up.
Ken and I have had some fabulous students on our show in plays and
Yep.
doing cards for veterans and doing cards, greeting cards for senior citizens. So there's a
Fantastic.
lot of, with all of our problems, there is a lot of progress and a lot of good things happening within the system.
Oh yeah,
Thank you for that.
Susan
That's
mentioned
great.
that before, and you're absolutely right, and we're really pleased by that. And I think your show is making a difference. This is one of the reasons why I want to urge all of our listeners to listen to that show, Wyndham Weekly, every Thursday at 4 p.m. with Mark and Ken, and they always have wonderful guests and wonderful conversations. And I'm hoping to be invited back myself.
Absolutely. You and
Sure.
Susan, or maybe we'll take you one at a time. That's about all I can
Oh, I
handle.
think that would probably be a good idea. But I think you're right. I think you're
Yeah,
right.
I know I'm right, Dennis.
I think
Anyway, it is
a
good.
lot.
It is good.
Yeah.
We really need. I mean, this station is really doing a great job to try to get the word out about Wyndham Public Schools. What a great job they're doing in a really difficult situation, and we need help from our voters, and we need help from our residents. We need help from everybody, no matter how old you are, no matter how far you've gone in school. One of the problems I have with school districts being so small, because we have so many of them in Connecticut, is you got a lot of grandparents living in town whose grandkids are going to school in Columbia and Chaplin and all, Mansfield and all over the place, and they don't care that much about supporting public schools. We all should care about supporting public schools, no matter where they are. It's good for everybody. It is what made this country great. Public schools are a big part of what made this country a great country. It still is a great country, but we need to keep working very hard to make it, to continue to make it great. And Mark Doyle and Ken Folan are doing their part every Thursday at 4 p.m. And we hope you'll tune in and listen to Mark's and Ken's show and continue, of course, to listen to Let's Talk About It every
Absolutely.
Friday at 5:05.
And
Thank
Happy
you,
New
Ken,
Year.
dear.
Happy New Year to everybody, and thank you, Mark and Ken, for being here on Let's Talk About It, and we look forward to happening on your show sometime.